I feel really good about when and how we raised. We really kind of had the foresight to know that um, there was a bear market coming, and were already an extremely profitable company. We absolutely did not need to raise, but there was a couple of reasons why we thought we should. One of which was we thought, you know what, there's a bear market coming, and as a result of that, we need to signal that we have a massive war chest to outlast anybody else, basically. Not to sound competitive, but it was the idea that like I want to be able to signal to the holders that like if this is a 3-year bear market, Yuga Labs will still have the resources to be outperforming everyone else and be putting out the best content imaginable, regardless of market conditions. That was one. Two, we had met with VCs very early on, and I was super reluctant. You know, they were like small to mid range VCs, and honestly, you know, we like didn't know this world, right? We're like creative writers, but we had watched Silicon Valley, which is so much more accurate than I think anyone would ever believe, by the way. Um, and we had kind of had an idea about what the VC world was like, and we had kind of a general distrust. Um, Not, and this what these early VCs weren't doing anything to signal that we should distrust them. It was just our own apprehension. This was another kind of influence of Nicole on us. Was she's like, hey, you can turn down VCs. She's like, don't be afraid to turn down VCs. You're a profitable company. You don't need to do this. But she goes, there's one VC you probably shouldn't say no to, and that was A16Z. And I asked why, and she goes, because they are going to be an amazing strategic resource. And when the opportunity presented itself to do a raise led by A16Z, and I don't mean to like, you know, toot their horn too much here. They're great guys, and I'm not trying to like say, hey, all VCs are great. I think it's very particular to everyone's different situation. But we got on the phone with them, and we were just so impressed. We were just like, oh, and they've become great strategic advisors. So have the rest of our VCs. And so that was the other element of it, was like, hey, this is a strong signal. The war chest could someday come in handy, and frankly, doing this in isolation, we didn't know anyone else. You know, like we didn't come into this space knowing anyone in crypto or NFTs. It wasn't like we knew the world as like observers and traders and investors, like, you know, with like, and when I say investors, I'm talking like thousands of dollars. Like we were not rich. Um, you know, so we didn't have the connections. You know, plugging into great strategic advisors essentially was everything we needed to kind of take this to the next level. So I don't know, Garg, if you have anything to add, but that's really what I was thinking about, those two components.
Yeah, I mean, like, just straight up, we were fucking idiots early on. We didn't even know like how equity like was supposed to work or anything. Like it was like October of last year when it was like, oh, I finally understand what, like, you know, equity options are, like what an RSU is and all this stuff. Like, so a lot of the early process was us just being like having this irrational. Yo, can you hear me? Yeah, I mean, I guess just to cut it off there, like we had this irrational fear that like if we took a dime from a VC, that all of a sudden we'd be like, you know, one day ousted out of our company, like because of some strange boardroom antics or something like that. And so it just took us a long time to get comfortable and then realize like, no, it's just like 10% of the company here. This isn't like anything crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
I think there's always like this weird misapprehension I see on the like Twitter space where it was like, God, I was like, I remember seeing people like anytime we made like even the slightest misstep, they'd be like, oh, this is the VCs. And it was like, nah, dude, like we sold 10% of the company. Like we can literally do whatever the fuck we want. Like VCs can't tell us what to do.